Hello and welcome back to Harlequins YouTube channel. I'm Tom, as always, and now with me, replacing Michael Maxwell, is Richard Sefferin.
How you doing, man?
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're here because you are a frequent winner of our Thursday night Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, and therefore the man to talk to, as we talked to Michael Maxwell earlier.
We just finished one, didn't we?
Just finished one just now, which you won, so just proving the point. So yeah, so basically we're here to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, because it's the second biggest game in the shop, obviously Magic being the first. Oh, Pokemon's catching up now, because you've got a lot of work to do now, because Pokemon's catching up.
Pokemon players at the moment.
Thursday nights, we'll start with Thursday nights. You win quite regularly. I've won the odd one, and obviously Niall and the guys who come along know who these people are. And if you come along to the shop and meet them, you'll know who they are as well. What does it take to win a Thursday night, do you think? What is it? Because obviously you've been playing a long time, but there must be something to it. There must be an element. What do you think that is?
One of the factors to winning Thursday night tournaments, or general hobby league tournaments, is to know your local meta. That's the most important thing. I mean, for example, I know around here that there's not a single high tier Gladiator Beast deck that's running at the moment, so I don't need a side for it at all. I don't need to worry about my side deck. But at the same time, I know that my local meta is quite Gravekeeper happy, so I need to make sure I side quite heavily to the Gravekeeper matchup.
So basically, come along, find out who's playing what, and then side for it.
Definitely one of the most important factors of a local hobby league. Now
we get a bit of thing from local players who don't come on a Thursday night. Now this is one of the things. Basically the opinion is you have to pay to enter, and they're not winning. That's the thing, is they're not able to beat yourself. They're not able to beat the others who are regularly coming at the top. And what would you say to them? So I know we all have opinions on this, especially in the shop. So what would you say to the people who say, I'm not coming to give you guys more prize support for my fiver? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say that they've got a point, but at the same time is that if you want to get better, you've got to play people that are better than you in the first place. They've got to understand that I wasn't always as good as I was, and at the same time is that they can become better as well. They've just got to persevere. They've also got to learn from mistakes. A lot of the time I see people coming in. I mean, I was playing a guy today who was playing 6 Samurais. It was a mirror match, and he was making the same mistakes he was making last week and the week after that.
Fair enough.
They're not improving. They're not learning from their mistakes. They've got to learn.
Well, we've proved you don't need a top tier meta deck to win on a Thursday night. You can come with a relatively good deck and do quite well.
Oh, definitely.
You don't have to have a top tier deck to win. So I mean, to all those people who don't come along to Thursday night, both of us and everybody else says, come along, have a go. But bear in mind, we are now starting a cheaper tournament on a Saturday afternoon, which is news to you because we just started this today. It's going to be running at £2 to enter. Obviously the price support won't be quite as good, but it's a lot cheaper, so people might be able to pick up some stuff. And we'll probably be giving away things that aren't turbo packs, so things like the Hidden Arsenal packs and the Jeweller's Pack Crows and things like that.
It also encourages some of the more top tier players like myself and a few other guys to maybe not run their high level top meta decks. It gives some of the more new guys a chance so they don't have to face off against £100 worth of cards they just can't get.
Well, I can't really say too much about that.
Well, no, because
I'm running the deck at the moment.
You're running probably the most expensive deck in the shop.
So I can't really say too much about having hijacked all the good cards for a change. Once again, back to my cheat sheet. Next one is the actual meta generally for Yu-Gi-Oh throughout the country stroke world. I know we've got a couple of decks. We're not going to zoom in on them because everybody can go onto the internet and just sort of type in on Yu-Gi-Oh wiki.
I've already done some deck profiles for a couple of them. I've done a deck profile for the scraps, and I'm going to get one done for the 6 Samurais.
Fair enough. Well, we'll start with the scraps then, because you've done the thing for that.
Yeah.
This is what tier of meta do we reckon the scraps are?
It's really difficult to say at the moment because Scrap's got a really awesome boost at the moment with Reborn Tengu. I don't know if you can see that, but it wouldn't.
The Reborn Tengu, guys, it's the pre-release card for the last set.
Exactly, it's TCG exclusive, which is why obviously you didn't see how good it was going to be until it got released over here.
Yep.
Gave Scrap such a massive boost because it's what they needed. They needed to be able to keep field presence for that first turn.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they struggle with. The other key card they've got their own that really boosted them up, which isn't technically legal yet.
It's not legal
in Europe, is Mechalon Emperor Granel.
He is a bit good, isn't he? He's the one who comes in.
He makes this deck.
Half your life points?
It comes in and its attack and defense become equal to half your life points. It doesn't half your life points. Your life points
Life
points drop it like turn 1, turn 2, which is not difficult in this deck at all.
You're at 4.
You've got a 4,000 attack, 4,000 defense guy, which absorbs their synchro monsters, which is just so powerful at the moment.
So we'll go back to the Tengu very briefly. The reason the Tengu is so good is because when he dies, you search another one and put it into play.
No, it's not when he dies. It's when he leaves the field.
When he leaves the field,
it's so good.
There you go.
So you go my Tengu with my Scrap Beast, 8-star synchro into a Scrap Dragon, and I get another Tengu out for free.
So
it's cost me nothing.
Your opponent has to do nothing to basically bring it onto the field. So scrap engine, basically, guys can look up on Yu-Gi-Oh Wiki. You can go onto any of the Facebook sites.
There's going to be a deck profile up for the scraps on the channel as well.
So there we go. On the channel there'll be a deck profile for scraps. But the Reborn Tengu and the Granule, as soon as the Granule becomes legal, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, we've allowed you to use it in the shop for a few weeks just to
right,
testing it out. Right, we'll go on next to the Gravekeepers, because in one of the upcoming interviews we're going to do is with Martin. Now Martin, top 8'd in France.
Top 16,
top
but he
16.
came 8th overall because of his matchups.
There we go. So 8th overall.
With this exact deck. So if you've read any of the YCS Paris reviews, you probably know who Martin Jones is, you probably saw his build. It's a real shame what happened to him. He could have gone further, but he unfortunately got a game loss because of a really silly mistake. He tried to normal summon twice in turn without
Well, we've had some discussion about the judge call on that, with the judge being, you know, French. And having looked up the rulings on it actually, and he could have taken back that normal summon and actually just been given a game warning. It was
definitely a snap judgment call, but it was the head judge. We couldn't even appeal.
He couldn't appeal.
So
well, let's say the man was French and he made the wrong call.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he would have gotten away easy with it, but at the end of the day, it happened. Can't complain.
Can't do anything about it now. But we can complain. You can complain on the YouTube channel.
Complain, but we're not
going to do anything about it. But we can complain. We're British. That's what we're good at. So the build for the Gravekeepers, we'll go to that. Most important card in the deck, what would you say that was?
At the moment, it's going to have to be Gravekeeper's Recruiter.
Recruiter?
I know a lot of people will like, well, Necrovalley or Gravekeeper's Stell. Very important cards, obviously. But this is why the Gravekeepers are doing better over here in the TCG than there are in the OCG, because they don't have Recruiter yet. Don't know when they're getting that, but they haven't got it yet. Recruiter just allows you to get so many more pluses off this deck. You know, you summon it with priority, you destroy it with Descendant's Effect on the field, and you blow up a card, and you get a card out of it. It's too good.
It's too good. What have we got next?
Got 6 Samurais.
Oh, I'm so tired of this.
Yeah, I mean, you played them today.
I played them today.
You got smashed by them.
Very strong. Now, key card in there's got to be the Gateway, surely. Gateway
is definitely one of the most prominent cards in the deck. Again, it was a TCG exclusive when they released it. It's not anymore. The OCG now have it, as far as I'm aware. And it's a really strong card, and it's at 1 for a good reason.
Yeah, well, it's the key to basically keeping things at a low level.
But I mean,
so
it's
what else?
hard to say what the key card is for the deck. I mean,
turn 1 Cheyenne is always going to be strong for the deck.
Turn 1 Cheyenne is almost a certainty in most games, especially now with the release of Shien's Dojo. Shien's Dojo is a new card that got released in Extreme Victory.
Extreme Victory.
And that, along with some of the older cards like Cheyenne Squire, which got released in Storm of Ragnarok, allows you to make a turn 1 Cheyenne even easier, and getting over a turn 1 Cheyenne, unless you, especially game 1, when you're not sideboarded into that Kinetic Soldier, into that Puppet Plant, is super hard.
Fair enough. We've got one more deck which we'll quickly get to, because we're
this is the only one I've got on me at the moment. It's not another tier 1 deck, unfortunately.
What have we got there?
We've got X-Sabers here at the moment.
X-Sabers, yeah. X-Sabers been around for a long time, haven't they now?
They've been around for coming on 2 years or so, maybe even longer.
And they topped quite a lot early on.
Well, it was the whole being able to use Full Troll to the maximum abilities and just going absolutely nuts with Full Troll and Regigura. Most decks aren't running Regigura anymore, but it's called true X-Sabers nowadays, and they're running things like the Dark Soul and the Partial. Dark Soul is arguably the most important card of this deck now.
I was going to come to that. The important bit is the Dark Soul. It's not a new card either, is it, the Dark Soul?
Dark Soul's been out since Shining Darkness, which is about 1.5 years old now, roughly.
Yep.
Again, it's a TCG exclusive card. I mean, all these decks, TCG exclusive cards are so important.
It's the thing, isn't it?
Some of them are just so good, and Dark Soul really is what makes this deck work. Being able to synchro with it and still getting a plus at the end of the turn for what you need.
It's all about
so powerful.
The next thing we're going to come on to, because like I say, with the X-Sabers, all these deck lists will be available, sort of linked up to the YouTube channel, and all sorts of links. As always, with all the interviews we do, anything you want to just add comments onto and ask questions and get people to ask questions of people, either be that Pete Freeman, the Hot Stepper, if it's Michael Maxwell, or if it's Saffron here, I'm sure if you post comments, we'll get them ask questions and I'll get replies for you. We'll do like an email sort of thing. Definitely for that. Very quick thing I want from you is a piece of advice from someone who is very good, and I'm sure I'm going to ask this question to Martin as well, because he's been there and done it. You've been to France, you've played in the big tournament.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between that big tournament and a Thursday night playing in Harlequins.
Definitely.
One piece of advice for all the people who are obviously going to watch at some point, what would you say the key thing to taking into that tournament with you would be?
Into a big
tournament from a small.
Like a YCS or
yeah,
something.
I mean, not the cards, obviously, because duality is like...
I mean,
the deck helps, but a mentality thing. What's the...
I think one of the most important things you've got to go in there with is to not underestimate yourself. I know it sounds a bit cheesy.
It
does.
Part of the cards, brother.
Yeah, part of the cards all the way.
Part of the cards.
But I mean, I've seen people go in with massively high tier decks, things like samurais, things like X-Sabers, and they've done mediocre.
Yeah.
I mean, when we went to Paris, for example, you know, we had a couple of guys in our group that went in with really high tier decks, and they didn't do that well. They went like 4-4, which is really, really poor for the deck. And they're not bad players either. It just happens. But you can go in with a relatively rogue deck and you can still do really, really well. I mean, that's been proven recently in the UK Nationals, which hasn't got a huge amount of coverage at the moment. So probably next video will probably come on to that more often. Comes back to that more. But I mean, a guy I think came like second place with a brand new deck, the Lost Sanctuary structure deck.
The Lost Sanctuary structure.
With a couple of changes to it, he threw that together and it came second. And it's a bit of a rogue deck. No one saw it coming. You know, no one understood how to side against it. Don't underestimate a rogue deck, and don't just net deck. Basically, net deck's important. Know your local meta, but at the same time, make sure that you.
Discussion with Michael Maxwell. The other thing he said was like, the advice we tend to give, and we're going to start giving out regularly, is pick a deck. Well, I've done that. I don't only play one Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I don't play a lot. Play that deck and play that deck. And for all the viewers, that's it for this time. You've watched all the parts. We'll be back in a week, hopefully, with more hot steppers and more interviews. So take care, guys. Thank you very much.